Smile like you've got nothing to prove. No matter what you might do, there's always someone out there cooler than you.
Hello listeners, and thanks for tuning in to Buffalo Lab Radio Free. I'm your host, Eunice Randall. I really appreciate the feedback I've gotten on the last few episodes. I'm going to try to respond to everybody individually. I didn't expect to get any emails, so it really means a lot to me. One question I've been asked a bunch of times is, how can I get notified when new episodes come out? If you don't use YouTube subscriptions and you're not into social media, one alternative is RSS. My channel does have an RSS feed. It's just at a silly long URL. gdata.youtube.com/feed/api/users/buffalo-lab-radio-free/uploads. But I'm also going to put it in the description of this video if you want to subscribe via RSS. If enough people express interest in an email mailing list, I could also set something like that up in the future. If you're local to Buffalo, chances are pretty good you've heard about the new permanent exhibition at the Burchfield Penney Art Center, the Front Yard. The Front Yard is an audiovisual art experience that's being projected onto the front facade of the Burchfield on Elmwood Avenue. The projections were turned on last Friday, and they'll be projecting 24 hours a day from now on, until, the museum says, forever. The towers that house the projectors are each 24 feet tall, made from steel and glass, and are pieces of art in themselves, with details from Charles Burchfield paintings etched onto their sides. In fact, the entire project was thought up by Burchfield himself, who wrote, "Once again I have conceived a wonderful thing. On my way to work, I suddenly conceived the idea of composing rhythms and colors, not pictorially, but abstractly, so as to suggest ideas. Having a psychological basis, it would appeal to even the untutored mind, and at the same time give the highest aesthetic enjoyment in the most cultured mind. With the proper instrument, these designs can be thrown upon a screen to a large audience who could watch and receive the same sensation as one listening to notes." He came up with this idea back in 1915, but today we finally have the technology to make it a reality. And the coolest thing about the Front Yard is that it's never the same experience twice. There's a whole team of local artists headed up by Brian Milbrand who have created artistic content for the exhibit. And what you see at any given time is also affected by the weather, which is another nod to Burchfield and his fascination with the weather through both artistic and scientific lenses. And the weather station, which gathers the meteorological information to power the exhibit, was built by Buffalo Lab board member George Hampton, who we have on the show with us today. So how did you get involved with the Front Yard project?
Well, it was back in, I think, December that Brian Milbrand, he was the artistic director for the whole project, contacted the Buffalo Lab mailing list and said they needed some technical help on an art project with the Burchfield Penney. And I, of course, jumped right on it and sent him an email back, and then met with him a few times over the course of the next couple of months, and he described what he wanted. And then come May, I got working on it, and then finally installed it in the past few weeks in October.
And now, the weather. So, what weather conditions does the station track, and how does it work?
So at this point, it tracks temperature, relative humidity, barometric pressure, RGB light, which is nice for getting the color of the sky during the sunset, sunrise, and it also grabs wind direction, wind speed, and rain in hundredths of an inch. So 100th of an inch will trigger the rain gauge. And how it works is it uses an Arduino, and actually an Arduino Ethernet, because it communicates through Ethernet using the OSC protocol to a Macintosh in the museum running Max MSP, which is what is running the video audio show. And then connected to that, I have a shield. It's a Grove shield, which is available from Seed Studio. Plugs right in, and it's just for ease of connectorization. You can see there's little 4-pin connectors up here that will get the digital IOs and the I2C and analog. So that's the compute platform, and then the sensors I all got from Seed Studio as well. So here's a humidity and temperature sensor, and that just plugs in through a 4-pin cable. And then I have this does temperature and barometric pressure, so there's 2 temperature sensors. And then this is a nice device for RGB light, and it gives, I believe, 12 bits of red, green, blue, and white. And I mounted that on the museum as you'll see in a pill bottle, so that it's shielded from the weather but clear. And then I went on eBay and picked up a very standard anemometer, and this just provides there's a 2-pin output that provides a sine wave that the frequency is proportional to the wind speed. So as it spins, every revolution is 2 hertz. And then there's a wind direction instrument that simply is a resistor. There's three pins on it, and it varies resistance. So at the analog input, there'll be a 0 to 5 volt signal depending on the angular direction. And the last instrument is a rain gauge that measures rain in 1/100 of an inch. And there's a mechanism inside. Well, it's covered by a funnel that's about 6 inches at the top in diameter and gathers the rain. And then the mechanism beneath is just a tipping mechanism, like little buckets that tip back and forth. And each 1/100 of an inch, it provides a pulse. And that is provided as an input to the Macintosh running Max MSP. So the mounting of this project was particularly challenging. Of course, the anemometer and wind direction gauge, the wind vane, and the rain gauge are weatherproof, but some of the other sensors needed some special mounting considerations. The light sensor I mounted in a clear plastic pill bottle and sealed it with silicone so that light gets in and weather doesn't. And then the other gauges, I looked online and found that there's a standard weather shield for these kinds of instruments called the Stevenson screen. And luckily, I was able to go online on Thingiverse and found a design pre-made. I was thinking about designing it myself, but since someone had already done it, I just was able to download it and print it myself and mount it. And hopefully it works. I think it's been shielding it for the last week pretty well.
Okay, let's do the pill bottle. Pretty cool. And then where does that go?
This goes over. This is the temperature, humidity and temperature, barometric pressure and temperature. So the pill bottle just covers those, so air can get in, but not rain.
How do you anticipate this project is going to evolve in the future?
Well, part of the point of the art project is to continually solicit new input from local artists. And I'm going to sort of work in the theme of that. I'm not providing art for it, but I'm hoping to provide more interesting and varied inputs to the system. One of the things I'm thinking about, I need to work with the technical people there, is a rain gauge that actually detects individual raindrops, maybe by position as well, but at least the rhythm. And I think that would be an interesting input for artists to use to vary with the weather.
So what was it like working on this project?
Well, for me, it was very exciting just to be a part of such an amazing project in Buffalo. I'm finding myself, with my technical skills, falling into the art world, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. And this project in particular is, it's a permanent installation, a huge part of Buffalo already, and it's I see it as a cornerstone in the revitalization of Buffalo. I just think it's awesome, and just to be a part of it, I'm really happy and proud about.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
You're welcome, Eunice.
If you're interested in seeing the front yard live and in person, it's now running 24/7 at the Burchfield Penney on Elmwood Avenue and Rockwell Road. You can also go to their website, burchfieldpenney.org, and in the right-hand column, it updates in real time to tell you what artwork is currently being projected. Neat, right? One of my favorite things about the tech sector is when new technologies get appropriated in ways that weren't immediately apparent and get used to make awesome art. A lot of people don't think of art and tech as similar fields, but in a lot of ways they are pretty similar because they're both driven by innovation. Thanks again for tuning in. I hope you're feeling inspired to check out the exhibit and maybe some art at the Burchfield while you're at it. Have a comment on this week's episode? Did you check out the front yard yourself and have something to say about it? Have an idea of something you'd like to see on the show? Just want to say hi? Email me at eunice@blrf.org. This is a community-based show and we're always looking for new and different content. You can also follow me on Twitter at Radio Free Eunice or on Tumblr at Buffalo Lab Radio Free. So until our next broadcast, listeners, consider this quote from John Lasseter. The art challenges the technology, and the technology inspires the art.
I know that's hard to believe, but there are people you meet. They're into something that is too big to be expressed through their
Okay.
We got that up.
We're affecting the art.